Hi there, my name's John Beckford and I'm a member of the Greenville Symphony Orchestra's percussion section. And today you're going to find out a little bit more about myself as well as all the different percussion instruments that I play, many of them in the Greenville Symphony. And to help me with this today, I've invited my granddaughter, Harper, who is a sixth grader over at Northwood Middle School. So I'm glad she's here and she's got some questions for me.
How long have you been playing percussion instruments?
Well, I started playing percussion when I was in the fifth grade, and I've been playing ever since.
What are percussion instruments?
Well, I'm glad you've asked that because there are so many different percussion instruments, it's sometimes hard to just simply categorize them into one family of instruments. But technically, any instrument that you strike, or you shake, or that you can scrape. So, instruments that you strike, shake, or scrape fall into the percussion family. And that might mean instruments that include the drums and the cymbals and all these Latin instruments, as well as the keyboard instruments that we're going to hear in a little bit.
How long have you been playing with the Greenville Symphony Orchestra?
Well, I came to Greenville in 1976, and that's when I started playing with the orchestra. So that's around 45 years that I've been with the orchestra.
How does your instrument sound or vibrate?
Well, that's a good question because all of them are going to vibrate after they've been struck, shaken, or scraped. So let's go over here and take a look at the drums. This is the drum set, and of course there's a variety of drums and different sizes as well as cymbals. And let's take a look at the tom-toms. We've got a couple tom-toms, one that's smaller than the other one here. And of course, one of the principles that we know with almost all of our instruments is that the smaller the instrument, the higher the tone. The larger the instrument, the lower the tone. And sure enough, this smaller instrument has a higher tone than this larger instrument. And an even lower tone is the largest of our drums here, and that's the bass drum, which we play with a foot pedal. So we've got a high sound, a medium sound, and a low sound. And the same principles apply to the cymbals because we've got cymbals of different sizes, and sure enough, the smaller cymbal has a higher sound than the larger cymbal. Now behind me are a couple triangles that we play in the orchestra. And they're of two different sizes, and sure enough, the smaller one has a higher sound than the larger one. So there too, the smaller the instrument, the higher the sound. And now we get to take a look at the marimba, one of the keyboard instruments in the percussion family. And when I say keyboard instruments, sure enough, it's arranged just like the keyboard that you would find on a piano. We've got all of these keys here, or bars as we call them, and they would be like the white notes on the piano. Here, these would be like the black notes on the piano. And as you can tell, some of these bars are longer than the others. And as we get higher, the pitch goes higher. So there too, the larger the bar, the lower the sound. The shorter the bar, the higher the sound. Now you notice that the mallet that I use to play this instrument has some cord that's wrapped around a ball that's in the center. They were not like the drumsticks that I was using on the cymbals and the drum. Well, I have a variety of mallets and sticks here because they all create different tones. And I have to figure out as a percussionist what's going to be the best mallet to use for the music that I'm going to be playing. So if we take these pretty orange ones, they have soft yarn and a soft core to them, and so it creates a really nice, smooth, mellow tone. These other mallets are a little harder, and so they have a different tone. And we could even use rubber mallets on this instrument, even hard rubber mallets, but listen how coarse they would sound. And I doubt whether I'd play music like that, but if I were playing in the upper register, these mallets sound really good up there. So again, the percussionist has to find the right mallet that fits the music that I'm about ready to play.
Wow, that's really interesting. So what's your favorite piece of music?
Well, that's a hard question to answer because I've got so many different favorite pieces of music. When it comes to the music that the orchestra plays, symphonic music, there's a Russian composer that I really like. And that composer's name is Peter Tchaikovsky. He lived in the 19th century, the 1800s, and he wrote a lot of great orchestra music. But the thing that I liked about his music, he wrote great bass drum and cymbal parts. And so that's one of the things that I like about playing his music. But if I was playing music from jazz or rock and roll, I mean, there's a whole different collection of music that really is some of my favorites, but then it's a different instrument that I have to play with that music. Let's go over to the drum set. And with the drum set, if I'm going to play rock and roll, then the music and the style of playing I would play on the drum set would sound something like this. If I were playing jazz, then I probably would play rhythms that sound like this. So there's a lot of music out there that's I love to play. And the interesting thing about percussionists is that they have instruments that are used in every style of music that you would encounter. If you're playing country music, symphonic music, jazz, rock, rhythm and blues, music from Africa, music from Ireland, all of those different styles use percussion instruments. And no matter where you go across this globe, you will hear and see percussion instruments being used in the music that's being played in every corner of the world.
That's cool to know. What's something you really like playing on your instrument?
Well, it really depends on which of the hundreds of different instruments that we have. If I were playing castanets, there's some great Spanish music that I love to play that's been written for the orchestra. And so it's fun to play that music when I'm playing that instrument. But let's take the marimba. Here, I want to play a piece of music that was written by a percussionist who played with a lot of groups in the 1960s. Groups that you wouldn't hear of or know about, but maybe your grandparents would. Names like Herb Albert and the Tijuana Brass and the Baja Marimba Band. But the man's name was Julius Wechter, and he wrote for those groups and also played the marimba and other percussion instruments in those groups. And one tune that he wrote was entitled Brasilia. And of course, with a title like that, it has Brazilian influences to the style and the rhythms of the music. So this is just a short little excerpt from Brasilia by Julius Wechter, and I'm going to play this piece using not 2 mallets, but 4 mallets. That way I can play more notes and I can play harmonies as well. So here's a little of that tune.
Is being a professional musician your only job, or do you have another job, other jobs?
Well, for 43 years, I taught percussion and music history at Furman University. But I retired from that job 2 years ago, and now the only real job I have is playing with the Greenville Symphony. I play with my church and with a few other groups.
What is something interesting and unique that makes you special?
What makes me special? Well, first of all, I've got the best grandchildren. But the other thing is, I know one of the things I did about 20 years ago, I had the good fortune to study music in Cuba, the island country that's south of the United States in the Caribbean Sea. And in Cuba, they have a wonderful tradition of music, and their style of music is different than what you would find in other parts of the world. And everybody there plays a musical instrument, and if they don't play a musical instrument, they know how to dance. And I enjoyed learning not only about the music and the instruments that they use there, but also just about the general culture and how they love passionately playing their music and making music.
I think that'll there.
Is that going to do it?
Yes.
Well, listen, everyone. I'm grateful that you tuned in, and I hope that someday, when you get an opportunity to play an instrument, such as in the 6th grade when you go into middle school, that you'll join the band or the orchestra. That's how it all started for me. Or you might even want to start playing an instrument now. Harper started playing the piano and taking lessons when she was in the elementary school. So I think you'll really enjoy being involved in playing music if you give yourself that opportunity. In the meantime, I hope to see you in the future at a Greenville Symphony Orchestra concert. I know you'll love it, and both Harper and I hope that you'll be there sometime in the future. So in the meantime, thanks for tuning in and learning a little bit more about the instruments in the percussion family. Goodbye now.